Hey everyone, welcome to On Your Own Reviews again. Today we're gonna look at a movie from 2008. As to why I haven't seen it until now, I have no idea. Did you want to see a good David Ayer movie? Well, don't look at this movie. So in keeping up with this month, we've done John Wick 1, we've done John Wick 2, Point Break, Constantine, Speed, The Replacements. What's the next movie? None other than Street Kings. This movie, obviously starring the man of the month, Keanu Reeves, is a cop movie from 2008, once again directed by David Ayer, amazingly enough. And it's basically a cop story where we have a dirty precinct that takes place in LA. Gee, that's original. But as the movie goes along, we find out that Keanu Reeves is actually a pretty rough and tumble cop. He likes to take the law into his own hands. Once again, not the most original of premises, but it does its job kind of well. And what happens is, when something happens to Keanu Reeves' character by the name of Tom Ludwig, he does a bust that he obviously, since he's not a crooked cop, he's an especially mean cop. When it doesn't go his way, he's under investigation by the precinct, none other than Hugh Lawton. That's right, Dr. House is in this movie. And what happens is Keanu goes to clear himself. He is led by his captain, which is none other than Jack Wander, played by none other than Forest Whitaker. So what happens is Keanu's character is under investigation. He feels like one of his former partners has betrayed him. So one day when he is specifically told by Forest Whitaker's character, leave him alone, just let him be, let him do what he wants. So when Detective Ludwig doesn't obviously listen to him, he goes to take out his own personal vengeance by wrapping his belt around his hand and going to attack him. Unfortunately, when he goes to do that, his former partner gets killed, mowed down by two people in a convenience store. Now, of course, Keanu Reeves' character, Ludwig, is already there, so he's a prime suspect. Forest Whitaker character comes in, says, don't worry, we'll protect you. Just forget about it. You know, you're my #1 man. We'll get through this. Just don't do anything. Of course, Keanu Reeves' character, being who he is, the badass cop, doesn't listen to him. Along the way, he runs into a detective who's actually looking into this murder. None other played by Paul Destanzik, who Keanu Reeves' character constantly calls him. What did he call him? He called him some pretty boy name. Played none other than Mr. Captain America himself, Chris Evans. And then from there we find out all the intricacies of this plot, as we find out who's dirty, who's doing what, who's who. And it's a very interesting movie. This movie has no shortage of star power in it. Keanu Reeves, Chris Evans, Forest Whitaker, Common's in this movie. Dr. House is in this movie. Who else is in it? The Game is in this movie, and to a lesser extent, Cedric the I'm Not Funny Entertainer are all in this movie and play little bit parts in it to a certain extent. This movie, you can not only call it a cop drama, you can also call it a mystery movie, as you're trying to find out how everything works together and how which cop is dirtier than the next, because in all honesty, no one gets away in this movie. There's not one character who you feel is redeeming. While Keanu Reeves may play the main character, his character is either A, very dirty, or he's an abusive cop. He beats the shit out of people. He takes the law into his own hands. Everything you can think a bad cop would do, he does it in this movie. Why can't I fucking figure the shot? This movie has a lot of good action scenes. There's a lot of good shootouts, a lot of good camera work. Once again, surprising from David Ayer, knowing what we're soon to get, or what we got last year. It's actually pretty suspenseful for the movie. It actually has some pretty good, drama in it, and actually pretty good acting. Forest Whitaker does an awesome job. I won't ruin the ending, but there's a speech he gives to Keanu Reeves' character where he really sells it for that whole scene. He gives like 2 speeches in that scene. Both of them off the charts. Excellent. Forest Whitaker, you did a great job in this. There's a scene with Chris Evans and Keanu Reeves where they're speaking to each other about what's the investigation and what's going on. And once again, another good scene. This movie's full of good actors, full of good acting. Let's go to obviously the man at hour, Keanu Reeves. This is the type of role he plays well. This is the type of role he does well, where things are happening around him and he has to have that look on his face where he's like, oh. Or that look on his face like, I didn't know that was going to happen. Stuff like that. He does the action. Obviously, he does the action scenes well. His character is a friggin' alcoholic to the max. His character, I think, drinks more in this movie than, or at least in the first like 45 minutes, he drinks probably as much as Bad Santa. That's how much he's drinking. He's always have like these little, the travel-sized bottles of vodka around him. And actually, there's a very funny scene at the beginning when Forest Whitaker goes to him. He's like, you know that myth that vodka doesn't smell? Well, that's not true. It's a pretty funny line for all you people who don't think vodka doesn't smell. He does well in his acting. He does well in the action. Actually, he plays alongside Forest Whitaker really well. As Forest Whitaker is giving his heart out to him, he's just like, aha. Or he's just not buying into it. Or he's buying into it depending on what part of the movie we're in. The bad part about the movie is, if you didn't like cops before, you're definitely not going to like them. Because there is not one honest cop, like I said, in this movie. Everyone is playing some type of game. Everyone has something going on. They have their own agenda. Or they're covering up something else. This is not a... If you're a cop, this is not a good movie to showcase cops. So you have to deal with that. Ending kind of gets a little too cute. It's one of the ones that kind of ends up... Dr. House comes up with... A lot of people come up with these plans and these Dr. House style moments where they just go, this is how we're going to do this. And no one's going to question anything. There are a lot of stupid ass cop moments in this movie. Keanu Reeves is being investigated, gets pushed down from a detective, which happens to actual cops in real life, when they're involved in any type of controversial moment or when there's a shooting. They usually get put on desk duty. He gets put in the complaint department, which is actually a pretty funny scene. So he gets put there, but and Chris Evans' character is investigating him. Yet he goes to Chris Evans' character. He goes, oh, let me help you out, figure out who actually did this death scene. And they're all over the place together. It's very visible. It's very public. These are some of the stupidest fucking cops I've ever seen. These guys are Point Break style dumb. Even to the point where one of the characters even points it out, goes, "You've been hanging out with the person who is investigating you off duty." When the movie is sinning itself from inside, something is very wrong. But other than that, this movie is a lot of fun. It's it's about 2 hours exactly. Despite the fact that the stupid logic, which can sometimes be distracting depending on how the movie is set up, the movie is very filled. The action when it happens and the shootouts are actually well done. Everything else is pretty good. I'm actually pretty surprised I've never heard of this movie before this year, or before last month, to be exact. This movie is probably at... This movie is actually 36% on Rotten Tomato, which I guess they had a lot of problems with the internal logic that I had, but I guess they weren't taking the actions or the planning that went into this movie. I totally disagree with that score. I would give it much higher. I'd give it 7.5. No, 7.8. This movie's really good. If you've never seen it, like I haven't, go out of your way to see it. It's a fun action movie. You'll get some drama, you'll get some tension. The twist at the end is actually pretty good as well. So I would say watch it for that as well. Forest Whitaker does a really good job in this movie. He really does. Not all the star power gets displayed like it should. Kind of wish Chris Evans was more than just a guy, you know, kind of Keanu Reeves' standby or backup, you know, being that he was a detective. A lot of the time he's just standing there going, you know, Ludlow, what do I do? He really didn't do a lot of detective work. I think this is better than 36% on Rotten Tomato. Like I said, I give it 7.5. It's a lot of fun. The dumb logic might distract you, though, I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of stupid cop moments in there that didn't need to be there. I still say check it out. So that's all I have to say about this movie. Up next, I don't know what's up next. I have one more movie to do before this weekend. This weekend I'm probably gonna go to the movie to see a new movie. I have a couple of videos that Jeff has done with Sonic to put up, so I'm gonna try to be busy instead of being dormant like I was the last couple of days. If anything, let us know what you think. Pretty soon we'll be putting up links to some other stuff, so hopefully we'll be a little bit more active on this channel. That's all I have to say about Street Kings. It's another Keanu Reeves movie, and I had fun watching it. Until next time.